the truth of the matter, and you said it so well, Dr. Vibe, there are countless Black, African/Caribbean students, international students who are here in our cities who are struggling.
It's hard to know because we don't have like the data to say what is the state of Black health before and after. And that's something that we've been advocating for, right? We need better race-based data that's done in a way that serves us, because race-based data has been collected on different groups in ways that actually cause harm, but we need it to be done with us in a way that serves us.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And since 20, our team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. So I always say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on November 17th. Yes, the holiday season is coming up around the corner. And here in Toronto, it's warmer. It's, I guess, seasonal. I think it's chilly, but they call it seasonal for this time of year. So people are getting into the festive mood. Toronto is in Taylor Swift takeover, family. So yesterday, Friday, and Thursday, Taylor Swift concerts. I was going to say conquest. She's conquested the city. She's just taken over. So in 3 days, I say over 160,000 people went to see Taylor Swift in concert. Not me. Sorry to disappoint you. Not I. And for people who know me a little bit, I am not a fan of traffic. So I had nothing to do with downtown Toronto over the last 3 days. I have the best. I at the best of times, I want nothing to do with Toronto traffic, but that would be crazy. And even last night in Toronto, there was a basketball game, hockey game, plus Taylor Swift concert within, I'd say, a 3 mile radius of each other. No, thank you. Not happening. Just not my, as the English say, it's not my cup of tea. No, just not my cup of tea at all. But for those who are watching live or watching on replay or listening on replay, we are here on Black Canada Talking. We do it on Sunday afternoons around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians an opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. So they could be local, could be global, could be family, could be personal, not personal, etc. International, whatever, national. That's what we do here. So that's what Black Canada Talking is all about. And for many people, you are used to seeing my dark hair. I'm going to say dark hair. He doesn't have any hair. Him and I don't have hair. Our dark glassered leader, Mr. Cesar Nadima Musa, with us. He'll be with us momentarily. He is in transit. So he is aggressively, but not crazily, trying to find himself into a hotel room because he's on the move as always. So he'll be with us momentarily. So for people who are watching or listening on the replay, what has been going on with you in Canada? I think Canadians, a lot of Canadians are talking about what happened recently in the U.S. election and what impact it's going to have on us in this country. Who knows? Who knows? Certainly things at the best of times are never changing. Things will change definitely in the next 2 years because we are divided by that thing called the 49th parallel and how much influence the U.S. has on us economically, culturally, socially, everything. So let's get to some other things of homework here. As always, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. We're at 1,590 subscribers. We want to get to 1,600. So if you haven't subscribed and you're up to it, subscribe on the YouTube channel. It'd be appreciated, not taken for granted. Also, share it out with everybody. Share it out because we have epic conversations here. Sometimes I say, and I haven't said for a while, this is the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, and another one's coming up in a few moments. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And funny enough, that'll be changing very soon because I've just joined a new social platform called Blue Sky. Has anyone heard about that platform? If you're in the chat, if you're live, has anyone heard about Blue Sky? Well, because a lot of people think that Twitter is too toxic. The gentleman who founded Twitter, now I forget his name, Jack, I can't remember his last name. I got to look it up. He formed another platform that is similar to Twitter called Blue Sky. And it's, from what all people have told me, Jack Dorsey, that's his name, Jack Dorsey. It's less toxic. And a lot of people that look like us are gone off of Twitter because they feel it's very toxic, very aggressive in a negative way. So another conversation I hope. I shut down for a second. No, we're back now. Two beautiful African-American queens to give their takes of the sense and nonsense that's going on in America. And we did a live conversation last night. I said, Dr. Vibe, have you heard about Blue Sky? I go, no. And what they said to me is a lot of African-Americans are leaving Twitter because of its toxicity and going over to Blue Sky. So I told them, you know what? By the time we do another show this upcoming Saturday, I'll have an account. Well, I already have it. It's done. I did it this afternoon. So I'm going to explore the digital pathways and highways of Blue Sky and be able to keep you up on it. All right. As always, too, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And then, excuse me, finally, have you heard of Indie Soup Media? Have you? Well, if you have, great. If you haven't, I'm going to share about it with you right now. So Indie Soup Media is an independent content creators platform for independent content creators they can, that want to get that distribution to a wider audience. It's based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and it's powered by a good friend of Dr. Vibe's, Dr. Tachiata. She calls herself Dr. Tachi's media professor, and she is my go-to person about all things media. So check out Indie Soup Media. We're blessed to have 3 programs on the platform that are 1-hour edited versions of conversations like this. Pride Time Saturday with Aisha and Lala, the Dr. Vibe Show, and the Morning Vibe are all on that platform. So just a little suggestion if you want to see wide variant of content creators, most of them looking like you and I. Well, looking like myself. I can't assume who's watching on the replay. Looking like myself. I don't know who's watching live. It's certainly to check it out. So, Indie Soup Media. All right. So what we're going to do is, for people who know me, I love meeting new people. Love meeting new people. And on the last Black Canada Talking, we chatted about a subject, but now we have someone to talk directly about it. And our new friend is going to be on for the rest of the show. And we're speaking that Cesar will eventually jump in, but if not, we're going to carry the conversation on our own. So we're going to be on a break for a few moments. And when we come back, you're going to get educated on probably something a lot of you don't know about. So hold on a second. We're back in about a minute and a half.
Well, I've just finished a wonderful session here with Dr. Vibe. I am Bernadette Hamilton-Reed, an 8th-generation African Nova Scotian, and I am the owner and founder of Sankofa Bookkeeping. But you know what? Sponsorship. That's what today was about. Don't be afraid to ask, and that's what Dr. Vibe is teaching us. Don't be afraid to ask for things. Leverage those partnerships. Psychographics. I didn't realize how important psychographics are on finding out about people and their likes. What keeps people up at night? Do the video conferencing, ask them for something, and also find out what is their pressure points, what is their problem, solve it. So, the stuff that Dr. Vibe says, and don't sell yourself low. When I started working with Dr. Vibe, $50 an hour, I am now up to almost $5,000 a month in engagement with my customers because of the things I've taken away. So when you go to these events, listen to what's told and use it. So thank you, Dr. Vibe, for opening up. And again, align yourself with what these people are doing, what they're asking for, and make sure you ask for what you're worth. Don't sell yourself short. Thank you again for the opportunity to learn about how to get more sponsorships. And we do not use the word in kind. We want the sponsorship. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you, Bernadette. Thank you for sharing. And I really appreciate it. She actually did that at a conference that I was at a few weeks ago in Ottawa, the Federal Black Entrepreneurship Development Conference, and had a good time and was blessed enough to do a session there for about an hour on aligning yourself for sponsorships, especially entrepreneurs for sponsorships. So let's get to it. So we have a new friend on our show today, Bernadette Bettie, And she's going to be coming on and chatting about a lawsuit in Canada alleging anti-Black racism in the federal public service is now heading to the federal court. So we are really happy to have her come on today. And the wonderful thing, before I bring on, she's first time she's been with the family here. And I asked her, are you nervous? She goes, no, I'm cool. I'm relaxed. So I said, okay, right person, right time. So Bernadette, how you doing? What's been going on today?
You can hear me, correct?
I can hear you loud and clear. Good to see you. Good to see how you've been.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I tell people I'm healthy. I'm healthy. So.
Ooh, I like that. I'm healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Give me one thing that makes you healthy at this time of your journey.
One thing that makes me healthy. So at this moment in my journey, I would say that I am allowing myself to intentionally heal about things that have hurt me in the past. So relating to the topic that we'll be speaking today, the hurt that I've received, the violence that I have received in the workplace. But I am not only a worker, I am this, person, this whole person who lives this, human experience with different dimensions. So there's other things too that have hurt me, and I think I'm allowing myself to heal from those. So I think physically, but also mentally.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that, and do know this is a safe and brave space.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So before we get really into the topic, give us some of your background.
Okay. And first of all, I was super excited to see Bernadette on the screen.
Oh, you know her?
I know her. We met in Geneva last year.
Whoa!
My name is spelled Bernadette, like TH, but it's actually pronounced Bernadette. It's Bernadette.
Yeah. Okay.
And so there's not many Bernadette in my entire life, like this time on earth. And my age, older, younger, I have met just a handful of us. And so when we meet, it's always a celebration because I'm like, oh my goodness, not many of us carry that name. Not many that I've known anyways carry that name. And so it was so, I think it's, again, in like this beautiful timing that she appears on the screen before I go live. So you there's a lot of Bernadette right now.
Wow. And you know what? I didn't even realize how your names were close, and then you know her. So I'm gonna make sure when I speak, I'll give her a call the next day and say, hey, I met someone who knows you.
Yeah. And we just our souls just connected when we met, so we're very similar in some of the things. Anyways, it was good to see her on the screen.
Wonderful.
So for you and for those of you who don't know me, and even the ones who do, my name is Bernadette Bettie. I was born in a beautiful country called Cameroon in Africa. That's where my ancestors are from. That's so yeah. I have strong warriors, ancestors in my lineage, and also that live through me. And I continue to, I think, do the work that they have started, but they started in another continent, like, a few oceans away. And here I am. I don't know that my parents necessarily knew that by starting a life in another continent, and they were going to have someone, kind of fight or continue the fight that so many of our ancestors have started. But here we are. I've been in Canada since I was 3. So I grew up here in Quebec City. So my first language is French. So we grew up in Quebec City. That's where I spent my formative years and then my teenage years. And moved to Ottawa, where I reside now, in 2008. I came for love, and then I started my family here, and my children call Ottawa home. We call Ottawa home for now, anyways, because there's so many transitions that happen in the meantime, and some stories that ended and new stories that are now starting. But I think that to know me is, or if folks would, if I needed to choose a few labels for myself, I would say I'm a human. And folks are always puzzled when I say that, but again, we're experiencing this human experience, and I am acknowledging that I'm a human with all of the complexities that it comes. I'm a mother, and that's my most pride in life, to have little humans call me mama. So I'm a mother, and I believe to be called to do what I'm doing to serve others because of our children. We're trying to become the best ancestors, and so I'm intentional in doing that. So when I'm the one passing the veil, I can leave a good legacy for our children. So I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a wife, I am a friend. I think I'm a great friend. I am an artist. I'm a free spirit soul, and I love art. I'm in connection with nature. I love everything that speaks to my soul. I'm someone who's very in touch with what she's feeling, and that's also why I think I know exactly what my mission is on Earth. And so I would say, to end, I'm a human rights activist. So I care about humans. I care about, you have a heart. The heart is beating, even if it's not beating, your heart is there. You have existed, you exist, you will exist. I care for you. And that's how I'm trying to manifest that every single day, is in trying to fight for all of us.
Wow. And wow, that is a lot, but it's a good lot. Thank you for sharing. That's fantastic. Let me ask, as we get now, how did you enter working for the government? How did that start?
So for the government, I started working for the public service in 2009. I was a student, my first degree. So now I'm at my fourth year PhD. But at the time, I was doing my degree, my bachelor degree, and I was about to get married, and wanted a job, and I also, at the time, it was also kind of a bit of a ingrained in me that's where the stability is, right? Like, you need to work in the public service to have some stability for your career, especially when you come from instability from, our parents that left everything behind and came here and had to start from scratch. Often that's what you get. You get that, go work for, the institution. That's where you'll be stable, and then the pension and everything. So I found a job as a student. I was doing my degree in communications and English, and I was focusing on cultural identity. And I found this job in the public service at the at the CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, as an admin assistant. So that's how I started. Then I graduated from that. I moved to public, a more PR, public relations gig that connected a bit more with my degree. And that's kind of how I survived the student years, going into after I graduated and being hired again, not permanently like some of my counterparts, but I survived terms after terms. So like short contract after short contract, until eventually, many, many moons later, I finally got my permanent position in the government. But that's how I got involved in the public service.
Do you remember your first day working for public service?
Absolutely. I did.
Can you share with us on that?
Oh yeah, like I always do. I get the best outfit, right? like, listen, we come from people that are proud, right? So
Yes.
the way we dress, the way we, everything, it's part of the entire package. So I made sure that I went shopping for that first day. And then I took the bus. There was like 3 buses to get to, or 2 buses to get where I needed to go. So I made sure that I had printed the night before. I printed everything. Also, by the way, just like shout out to my mom. I come from my mom is a designer, so she taught her to iron our clothes before. So the night before, anyways, the clothes are ironed. They're all placed. The backpack is ready. The lunch is ready. Everything is ready. The next day, I woke up, got myself ready, and all of these affirmation, you're great, you're valuable, you're going to bring so much on the table, all of these beautiful things that I repeated to myself, because I know the patterns. I know when we get to some spaces, it starts as being as showing as a safer space, and then eventually with the greatness that you bring, some people might feel small, and then it kind of comes backlashes against you. So anyways, I started very optimistic, and I went, and the whole administrative things, my pass, and meeting everybody on the team and shaking hands, and the cubicles, and then I got acquainted with my computer, like all the things. But I remember, I do remember all these little details just because I have a good memory, but I remember the feeling of I felt proud for myself, but I was also proud because I knew I was making my family, my parents proud, and I was manifesting maybe something that I don't know that I wanted necessarily, but I knew, my parents wanted for me. I was manifesting something like that. So I felt that sense of pride, and I was super excited to get started and to just learn, and also to receive wisdom from others, but also to contribute and collaborate to what I also could bring to the table.
Now, I know that this is now going to court, but when did you notice things starting to take a U-turn in the workplace?
It was very quick. Like I said earlier in my introduction, I'm someone who's very in touch with, like, I sense things, I feel things, I know things. And when you received that type of violence your entire life, you just know when, it's not a you problem, it's a them problem. And yes, it's systemic, but people, that's the part where people often fall short, is that it's in the system. So it's embedded in the system. That's how the system has been created. So when we say the system is broken, it's absolutely not broken. It works perfectly the way it's supposed to work, because it was first created with not necessarily someone like you or me in mind, right? So the system, and then the people. Individual will continue upholding that system with their behavior, the way they talk to you, the way they uphold the law, the rules. Those are the rules. Those are the rules, not questioning the status quo. So very quickly, as a student, like I said, first of all, that first job kind of didn't end the way I wanted to. Then when I transferred to the next one and I graduated, it took all the fight in me to make sure I was recognized for the work that I was doing. I would do so much, and I never was given the same opportunities. I told you earlier also that I was hired as a term. So that's the term they use in the public service, which is which has an expiration date, as opposed to when you're hired as indeterminate, where it's like you're permanent within the public service. You there's no expiration date into the job that you're doing. So I was hired as a term. Many of my non-Black counterparts were hired permanent. Same credentials, like everybody's just graduating from their bachelor degrees. But then and also I should say I'm bilingual. Most of them were not. Still, I was the one who wasn't hired permanent. So it started very, very early. I was still at like baby stage in my career, and I noticed that there was a lot of inequities. And the thing is, that was my experience, but I also spoke to the few of us that existed in these spaces that were a bit more seasoned and had been experiencing the same. And so I knew again that it wasn't just like one singular story. This was, again, systemic, and it was something that was shared amongst many.
And my question, next conversation piece is, how long did you last?
Oh, I lasted a while, I would say. I lasted a while, but I did take breaks. And even I would say I left the public service 3 times before divorcing that space forever. And I don't say this lightly. So I left first in 2014 after my first son. And then I came back.
Wow. After your first son?
Yeah. So I basically went on mat leave, and then the idea of going back was like killing me. There was other reasons as well, but just the idea of being back in that space. And I always knew that I it was hard, but then for me anyways, when I started having my children, I was like, all this, and then for what? For them to have to not be able to experience the mother to the full potential because she's fighting so much at work that when she gets home, she's like completely broken.
Yes.
So there's this shift in perspective. But then I went back in 2018 hoping that things had changed, things were different. And that's also how, and also I trusted the people that invited me back in the space. And I did. And then I lasted a few months, maybe a year. And then I left again. I left, and then I went and worked in politics. I had the opportunity to work at the PMO. And then after the PMO, again, I had this opportunity, and I think it was more, I didn't want to go back. However, again, there was so many external variables that kind of forced me to go, but I was approached by the Canadian Human Rights Commission at the time, and I've told you from the get-go, and I have always been an activist. I didn't even know the word, but I've been always this person. I just grew into a woman, but I've always been this person. So when I saw the mandate of the commission, I was like, okay, I found my forever home in terms of professional growth. I knew that I could do so good in that space. And so I just wanted to be in that space. I wanted to work there with all of my heart because I just knew that it aligned with the core values. And because for me, I don't clock in and out. It's like, this is part of the whole mission. I just knew that it was just going to be this continuity. And then I was going to hopefully be happy in that space. So I went back in the public service. And that's actually where I've experienced the most violence.
And when you went, and thank you for sharing it, because I know some of it is still hanging in there emotionally for you. How long, when you went back in there, did you last for?
So I started at the Canadian Human Rights Commission, CHRC, in 2019. And I left in 2024, August of 2024.
Recent.
And in the meantime, had more babies. So, and the reason why I just mentioned this detail is while you're experiencing violence from work and being pregnant, that those have like some significant
Not a good mix. No.
And while I'm at the commission, I file a complaint against them and also join the class action and also appear before Senate. and also am all over news and like because it went public.
Yes.
All of that is happening. And then I went through a divorce in that time. All of this happens while I'm working at the Canadian Human Rights Commission. So I basically am speaking about what's happening in the workplace on Monday, and then Tuesday I'm in that workplace.
Wow. Well, first of all, I want to bless you because you have been through a lot, professionally and personally,
Mm-hmm.
and you're a mother too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm touched. I'm really, really touched, and thank you for being here today. I know that this lawsuit is active right now. So if there's anything that you are not comfortable in answering, please feel free. All right. So I want to start with, can you provide an overview of the lawsuit and the specific allegations of anti-Black racism within the public service?
Absolutely. So the way I usually plain language it for all of us to understand is this. The Black Class Action suit wants to address, there's many things, but if we were to categorize in two parts, the first part would be the professional damage that it has, that many Black public servants have experienced. So we are going from now till like 50 years up, so 50 years ago. So we're trying to cover 50 years of damage from the federal from the federal government of Canada. And so we're for that, like promotional opportunities, like lack of promotional opportunities of training, all of these things. And then for that, the suit is requesting 2.5 billion. That's in damages. And then the other part is, when you experience lack of promotional opportunities, when you experience financial insecurities, when you experience aggressions, violence, racism in the workplace, it has a lasting impact physically and mentally for you. I don't care what people will say to me or how strong they think they are, because I think I'm really strong and I am experiencing so many symptoms of the chronic stress I've been in for the past 4 years. It lives in your body. So that's the other part too. We're acknowledging these individuals as humans, and we're acknowledging the harm that it has caused on these people. And we're asking the government to acknowledge it and then to do something. We want reparation, right? That's basically the word. There's reparation that needs to happen here. Financial, sure, but it's not all about money. And when folks are ticked about this, I'm like, but you can't fix, and I'm going to use it in a quotation mark, someone by giving them money. That's not really the case here. It's also like the emotional and the physical harm that's been caused. And then all that 1 + 1 will equal systemic changes. We want the institution to bring permanent systemic changes, so we don't come back in 50 years and then our children are fighting the same fight that we're fighting now. We want to see it not only Black on white, right? So in the law, in the Constitution, let's go and amend all of these old, right, and not serving to anybody laws. Not just that, not just going to change that, but also make sure that, and that's why I mentioned earlier, it's one thing that the institution is built the way it's built. It's another thing that people come and uphold that. So we need to make sure that you and me and everybody around us is also doing their parts in dismantling these, systemic problems. So that's what the class action suit is doing. We're fighting for Black workers. So we're fighting for Black workers in this specific suit. What I would like to say, though, is when I win, you win. When, other women win, I win too. Like, we're everyone that's put in margins. When another equity seeking group wins, everybody wins. So it's not about you versus, it's about let's fight for the global collective. So we can, all of us, start healing also as a global collective.
Wow, this is really, really good. So just to do a reset, look, Cesar is ready, so he'll be in just a moment. I'm going to bring him on, but myself and Cesar were speaking with Bernadette Bettie about a lawsuit in Canada allegating anti-Black racism in the federal public service, and it's heading to the federal court. Before also, too, if you want to find out more about this lawsuit, there is a website here, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, X, Twitter. I'm going to clean that up in just a moment. But also, if you're watching either live on the replay, all this information is also in your comment section on Facebook, on my Facebook page, and in YouTube. So without further ado, I hope he's ready. Is he ready? He's ready.
I was ready.
How are you,
Thank you
Cesar?
so much. I'm okay. I made it to this small town. It was quite some driving. I apologize.
No, it's
I wish
okay.
I was here a little bit earlier.
No, you're here now, and just forget about all that stuff and let's focus on our friend. That's the most important.
Hello, Bernadette. Hi, my sister.
Oh, so good. Cesar, I just really started the conversation, finding out a little bit of background. If you want to continue on, you can jump in. Where do you want to go? Okay.
No, go on. I will definitely jump in. Yeah.
No problem. So was there something specific that prompted the lawsuit? And you already spoken about, but maybe a little bit more depth on how long this issue of anti-Black racism in the federal public service has been a concern.
I mean, I think it's been a concern for a very long time. And just to address some of the points, I'll give you a few answers. So first of all, when this the first question was like, how long? So the reason why I joined the class action is because my friend and colleague Nicholas reached out to me. So just to backtrack a bit in time, I and with other employees at the Canadian Human Rights Commission filed a complaint against the Human Rights Commission in December or November of 2020. In December 1st of 2020, same year, same month, like a month after, a few days after, we filed a complaint. We officially go public with the class action suit. So these two are like very close in time. Again, remember I told you I was pregnant at the time. I actually had my baby a bit early because of the stress I was under during all of this time. So I filed a complaint against the CHRC. Of all the employees that filed with me, I'm the only one who went public. Then there's also the class action that's going at the same time. I was approached by Nicholas, I can't remember exactly, maybe in the summer before, and he said, listen, there's many of us that are experiencing this. He had already done so much work, in Toronto and like around where he lives, and had spoken to so many people. So it had been like a work in progress, a coming of age. And then he reached out to, a few to create the original, I guess, the plaintiffs. And we were ready to go. And then the law, also all the lawyers that are on the case, like he had been doing the work, and I joined a few months before we went and went to court with the class action. So in that class action, and in just looking at folks that joined the class action since it's been happening, it's me, young mother, with children starting her career. There's the grandmother who's retired and has spent her entire time in the public service with not one promotion, but has basically mentored everybody that been hired, like they've been kind of given the like the promotion. Then you have the younger folks. Then you have so you have like basically there's a spectrum of us. There's like a range of us that have joined the class action. So that's how I would like to answer your question. It's been happening for so long, right? And it's almost like there's a legacy that we're giving to the next generation, where we're starting where our mom, dad, or parents, auntie, uncles ended, and we're not progressing. And so the other part of the question I would like to address by saying that we are, again, the government has already acknowledged that there's systemic racism within the public service. This government has, right? The government Trudeau has acknowledged publicly, we recognize that there's issues in the public service in the way the system is created. So that was big because no other government has acknowledged in the past. However, we are still trying to certify this class action so we can get in court, so we can start actually the process to settle. So I'll give you an example. Other class action have settled in a few months. 2S LGBTQ plus, they've settled in, I think it was 11 months. They didn't go to court. Government and the class action, they settled the case. Women, there's a class action for women who were, I want to use the proper term, and I can't remember, but I think it's like women that experience violence. Also, they were able to settle their case or the class action before going to court. It's been my son who I was pregnant with when I filed, just turned 4. So it's been 4 years that we've been trying to get, because the court hearing that we just had for 3 weeks is only to maybe hopefully get us certified to get in court. So we've been waiting for those dates for quite some time. Now we experienced that for 10 days, 10 very traumatic days. And that's also something I need to mention is we need the emotional support. So it's very difficult because some of the folks that came to court for those 3 weeks are plaintiffs, and they sat in court listening to Canada, dismissing their stories, right? Reiterating and re-traumatizing them. So we're sitting there, and then we kind of not just observe. For me anyways, I take on and then I go home, and I'm not too sure. If you don't have the tools, you're not too sure what to do with it. So that's a part that we can't really we can't minimize. It's important for us to have some mental support, and I think a lot of them, like the 3 weeks are done, but now it's going to take us weeks to kind of recover from what we just experienced. And so now we're waiting for the judge to review everything, and then hopefully in a few months, maybe, we don't have a date, comes back with an answer. And now from then, if it goes in our favor, Canada could appeal. If it goes in their favor, we can appeal. We had a press conference last week, and one of our lawyer looked at straight in the camera and said, we are willing to come at the table with you, Canada, and try and we've asked this many times. Let's try to find solutions together. You've already acknowledged that this is happening. So why are you fighting us in court? Why are you fighting us? This is happening. So what they're asking, basically, Canada is asking for all of these Black public servants to go through the proper recourse mechanism, which is technically the Canadian Human Rights Commission. That's where the timing was almost, and I didn't know that the class action, was going to happen when we filed the complaint against Canadian Human Rights Commission, but it happened almost at the same time, which was kind of wow, because the Canadian Human Rights Commission is the place usually these folks would go. However, as someone who's worked there, and now we know that there's the CHRC has breached the non-discrimination clause. What happens is when you send your complaint to the Canadian Human Rights Commission and it's a race-based complaint, there's a lot of chances that it will be dismissed because people around the table bring their biases into that, and then will say things like, and I was sitting around those tables being completely shocked by things I would hear. They would say things like, but how do they know it's a race? Oh, another one using the race card, right? These people have your faith in their hands.
Wow.
And then most of the time, the complaint dismissed. So we know that the institution that's supposed to fight for us is also full of biases and fails Canadians. And the government is still saying, go through that same recourse mechanism. It's not working. We're telling them it's not working. That's why we're coming here. It's because they've tried many times, or it's because we don't have faith in the CHRC.
Cesar, anything you want to add? I could give some more conversations, but I you are of value to this conversation, so I want you to certainly engage.
So let me put in perspective something, and I know I missed the beginning of the conversation, but Sister Bernadette and I think I can say now that we go back already for some time. And further than that, Dr. Vibe, this is the interesting nature of the lawsuit in question, but also of my work as an EDI, whatever, regional director, consultant, specialist, you name it. So here it is that I have departments and organizations calling on me to, present, to train the staff and leaders on notably systemic racism, on equity, diversity, and inclusivity issues. And one of my videos that I was presenting to federal staff was actually regarding the Black Class Action lawsuit, which included an interview of Miss Bernadette Bettie. And very interestingly, here we are, 2023, April, New York City. Dr. Vibe, you remember, I was at the United Nations, and this is where we meet in person. So when we look at the fact, and we should say really the irony, and Bernadette was saying it right there, the irony of this Canadian government under Justin Trudeau, for all the criticism that can be addressed to it, many valid, some unfair, but for all the criticism, this government effectively has recognized systemic racism and the United Nations Decade for People of African Descent. I was there on Parliament Hill in 2018 when they did so. And then you see this class action lawsuit, as Bernadette just said, where a government that recognizes that there is a problem is putting barriers to the settlement of something for which in other cases of lawsuits based on identity, such as indigenous, such as LGBTQ, etc., has settled. It's kind of like, is it the amount 2.5 billion being sought? Is it because of the individuals, aka Black people? Because, and this is very important to understand in terms of the law of the land, aka common law, which basically rules most of Canada, the concept of jurisprudence here does not apply. The jurisprudence has already been applied for other identities seeking and deserving justice, deserving equity. So why is it that it's being made difficult for Black people? And this is the last point I will make. We are bound to have elections next year. And Dr. Vibe, you've heard me say this time and time again. If this is not settled before the elections of next year, you see where I'm going. And the conservatives of Mr. Poilievre come into play. Is our sister Leslie Lewis, part of the Conservative Party, one of the leaders, a Black female, intelligent and capable sister, is she going to step for our Black federal workers who are seeking justice when she is in a party that does not recognize systemic racism? This is the time delay seems to me quite manipulative. And I don't do conspiracy theories, but I look at the situation as it is being addressed. Why not settle? What is it making it that despite so many years, decades of documented proof of systemic racism in society, as in the workplace, and which the government itself recognized at the highest level in terms of the United Nations, so why not settle?
It's a good question. Why is there an answer? Why is there not an answer?
And I just to piggyback a little bit on what Brother Cesar just said is that we as Black people, we do have all of these intersections, right? There's 2S LGBTQ2 plus folks in our in Black people. There's there's like so many there's like people living with disabilities. There's all of these intersections. There's women. There's like everything. So the only answer, and that's me personally thinking, if you continue seeing us as second-class citizen, well, you'll treat us as second-class citizen. If you think that we don't contribute to this country and make it a better place to be, you'll continue fighting us in court. It's like almost the non-recognition that we bring value, and we've been bringing value to this country. We've been building this country along with our other brothers and sisters for, as long as we've been here. So it's, again, dehumanizing Black people.
You're on mute, Dr. Vibe.
Sorry about that. I just want to say, how does this lawsuit align with Canada's existing laws on workplace discrimination, such as the Canada Human Rights Act or the Employment Equity Act?
Wow, that's a very good question. So for the Employment Equity Act, there's a few tiny small wins in this big, like, giant fight, right? It's like we asked for the Employment Equity Act, for example. We asked that Black people be a separate group, be recognized as a separate group, so we can finally acknowledge that the violence that we receive is different than other non-white groups. So, for example, what happens is Black people would say, well, we don't see any of us in, the family picture. So, for example, like senior management ranks and even middle ranks, like we were very sparse, although we are part of the public service. But we would say, well, we start at the entry levels, and we're stuck at the entry levels for a long time. And then they would go and look at the data, and they would say, well, no, we see you here. Like, we hire a lot of Black people. Like, there's no problem with that. Or I hire a lot of, not Black people, sorry. We hire a lot of racialized people. Oh, okay. That's the problem. We need data that shows, when you say racialized, what are you talking about? Are you talking about women? Are you talking about men? Are you talking about Black, brown, like, Asian? What are you talking about? Oh, and so that's when we started doing that, we kind of saw where the problems were, right? And so that's why we absolutely need to have a separate category where we can tell the realities and the stories of Black people. So that's one thing. And it's been recognized, and it's been it will become, but just like everything, it takes a while to get implemented. But that's a small win in this whole, fight. And then your first question was about you asked me about the Constitution. Is that what you asked?
No, my question was, how does this lawsuit align with Canada's existing laws on workplace discrimination, such as the Canada Human Rights Act or the Employment Equity Act?
Well, that's the thing is, obviously, with everything that's happening with the CHRC, we see that even the CHRC is not respecting, its own, like the law or its own constitution. So it's aligning in the sense that we shouldn't be discriminated, but we are. So I think there's a few things that need to be amended in the law. What I heard a lot in the past 3 weeks in court was lawyers on the Canada side stating the law as if the law has no biases and is like perfect, and the way it's currently written doesn't discriminate anybody, where we know that it's false, right? So that's where I'm puzzled a little bit. I'm confused. I'm confused because we have a government, and I hope I'm answering your question, but we have a government that recognizes discrimination within the public service, in Canada in general, and within the institutions and in the law. Like they recognize that it's happening, but then they are very resistant in bringing any type of changes. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm trying to think, and hopefully this can be manifested. What if we could sit at a table where Black folks could bring recommendations on how they see how things should change, and Canada just would acknowledge their mistakes and then make the appropriate changes without the resistance that we're experiencing right now. But we're not there. We're still fighting for our stories to be recognized as truth.
Cesar?
So I'm speaking here, obviously I am not a lawyer, but in terms of how I can say this, the non-settlement, and we can even truly say the non-settlement basically leads to
No problem.
let's just wait a quick moment.
Go ahead.
Basically, the non-settlement kind of seems as a time delay type of technique in which, as we see in the States with Donald Trump, you delay till the next government that basically washes off its hands in terms of claiming this is not a responsibility, even more as it is this government, the Trudeau government, that did recognize systemic racism. Why is that important? Is because you will notice across the Western world that the main issue to acknowledging and notably presenting apologies to historical harm, because what happens to Black workers at the federal as any level, but Black workers as Black citizens, is part of a historical continuation of social, but also economic and truly psychological harm based on the color of the skin. So this is not a matter of achievement or aptitude. It doesn't matter if you Barack Obama, President of the United States, or if you Ray locked, put in jail for hustling and dealing. It doesn't matter if you are Oprah or Beyonce was celebrated worldwide, or if you are Shaniqua or whatever stereotypical person that we would see in a Tyler Perry movie. The victimization comes from being Black. And as such, one of the things that it does is that we see across the Western world a refusal in many places to acknowledge and to seek to accept reparations because of the fear of financial compensations, which for many would be blown up due to the time frame being talked about. I mean, we're talking about Black class action lawsuit. You look at the United States, you can see the 1619 Project and the quest for reparations. The similarities are strong, but further to that is simply what I can see here as the further leaning to the right of politics, not just in the US, but truly across the Western world, and also of society, in order to make it that a matter of months or a year and an election for diminishing, crushing the morale of our brothers and sisters at the forefront of this fight, such as Sister Bernadette, Brother Nicholas, Brother Robin Brown, etc., crushing them in what can truly be said, no hope of success. But this is where, if this doesn't go through, it basically sets a precedent of very targeted, I really say targeted discrimination against Black people. Why? Why is it that indigenous people do get the settlements, and I'm putting with an S? It's never complete unless they get the whole country back, to be honest, but they get settlements. And why not Black people? Why is it that LGBTQ people, and when we say LGBTQ people, let's be honest, we're talking overwhelmingly about white LGBTQ. Why do they get settlement and not Black? So this, a non-settlement, a non-resolution, and even a delaying into the next elections just add to the nature of systemic racism for which the lawsuit has been put in motion for. And as such, it becomes upon the Black people of this generation and likely the next generation to keep up the fight. Because that's really how it works. I mean, this is the reason we are all here, including those listening, is because the generation before and the generation after that and so forth, there were other brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers, grandfathers and grandmothers, uncles and aunties who were fighting for the cause. And now here we are. You know, as Frantz Fanon said, every generation has to decide the purpose of their life, whether they're going to stand for the cause or they're going to bow down to the oppression. And, you know, we clearly see Sister Bernadette, just as you, Dr. Vibe, giving this platform. And, you know, me as a Pan-Africanist, of course, we are here standing for the fight. We can integrate a society and yet still keep our fist high in order to make it more fair, more just, because it is factually proven, it is documented. Anti-Black racism is quite alive and well. And it doesn't matter if your name is Barack Obama or Oprah Winfrey, as even they, as president, as a billionaire famous woman, have been victims of racism. So imagine the millions of unknown Black people as workers and as civilians.
Thank you, Cesar. So just do a reset here. We're speaking with Bernadette Bettie about lawsuit in Canada alleging anti-Black racism in the federal public service heading to federal court. I want to continue. For those watching live or on the replay, actually we have the website on the screen. So that is what the website looks like. So please take a visit, whether you're in Canada or not. And it doesn't matter what cultural background you are. Take a look at the website, because the more you know, the more you need to know. I'm a firm believer on that. So getting back to Bernadette, question for you, and you've mentioned some of it from your own personal journey. What are some of the specific ways that Black employees in the federal public service have allegedly experienced racism or discrimination?
It ranges from being called the N-word in the office and nobody doing anything, to no opportunities for career advancement. So I have the honor to have met so many of them, some of the other plaintiffs, and Carol is one of them, and she like, I love her so much. Like, she would be my grandmother. And she spent 26 years, I believe, in working at the Canada Revenue Agency, and she retired with a salary of $26,000, I think, a year.
Hold on, repeat that, please.
Yeah, 26 years at the Canada Revenue Agency. It was called something else at the time. So it was the Canada Revenue Agency. She graduated, not graduated, but she retired with a salary of approximately $26,000. And so she's retired now. She's an older woman who, it shows me how we don't value our elders in this society, and even less our elders that are, non-white. We have this, they've worked so much for our country, and instead of retiring and resting in dignity, that's like poverty, under poverty line. Probably that person needs to work again, or doesn't have any financial stability. And she shared that, she did mentor so many that would just come in and then would be not promoted, but would begin given the opportunity to get the next job. She was never. It's in being told, for example, me, I've told you a bit about my journey in the public service, and I know that I'm overqualified because I'm an educated person, and I'm saying this in a very humble way. Not that I need to, but I need to say I'm a very humble person. If you meet me, you'll know I'm very human, very approachable. I just love being around people and love being and love people. But the thing is, that's how they the institutions, that's how they go about. They say, well, you need to have this degree and that degree and speak French and English and all of these languages, and you need to be able to do X, Y, and Z and the other. Well, I can do it. I can. So what's the excuse now? And so I remember being interested in a position and being told by my director at the time that I didn't have enough senior management briefing. I didn't have enough experience briefing senior management. And that was right after I came from the Prime Minister's office. And at the Prime Minister's office, just to add, I was working directly with Sophie Grégoire Trudeau. So, and it was at the proximity of the Prime Minister. So how much senior in Canada do you need than that position?
Wow.
And it's in the aggressions that you receive every day, the comments that you made about like how you look, the food you eat. I have a friend who told me, we call it microaggressions, but there's nothing micro about aggression. So I've stopped using that word because I think it minimizes the experience that we receive every single day. And for us as Black folks, we know that it's in the office and it's at the grocery store and it's at soccer where we drop off our kids, and it's like in all the spaces, and it started from the day we were, born. And so it is just so taxing on our bodies. And so and also I was going to add, when I went public with the complaint filed against the CHRC, then trust me, it took me a while. That's why when you said it's recent that I left the public service, I was not able to find a job anymore. I've put myself, it was a professional suicide. I believe I'm on the blacklist in the public service. Even jobs that, I was like I said, I was overqualified for. Nobody would call me back. I received many calls, and as soon as they would do some research on me, I didn't receive any callbacks. I wasn't extended a promotion. And like I told you, there was so many personal also factors that happened during this whole, since the beginning of this class action. And this is my experience, but just to relate it to the collective, what happens when these things happen, or when people like Carol retires with a salary of $26,000, it creates financial instability that we give as legacy again to our children. So like that cycle just never ends. We are poor and remain poor, or we try to get out of that poverty by working all of the jobs, and then it's taxing on our bodies. We age too early. We get sick, and we have and we know Black people about heart attacks and all of these things, just because we're so stressed and trying to just exist. So I had to find ways to try to make it, in the months where I could barely pay for rent. And that's the thing. Those are the parts people don't see. I'm having a hard time paying for rent, but I'm in front of the TV the next day, right? Trying to fight this because it's too important for me. But people don't see that, like, right now I'm struggling. I'm trying to, I'm working so much, I'm getting anything, I'm knocking at doors, I am humbling myself, asking for friends for, hey, can you help me? Can you do this? Can you do that? Because I'm having a hard time taking care of my family. And so there's a lot of people that will say to you, I need to speak, but I won't do it because the cost that I pay will be greater. And I understand them, because it's been, I told you earlier, right? I'm healthy because I'm able to heal. So I'm healing now, but it will take a while for me to recover from the years of uncertainties. And for me, I'm grateful because something came sooner rather than later. But for some people, just like Carol, she is retired now on those best 5 years of her public service life, which just ended at $26,000 a year. And so it's all of this. It's all of this racism and the way it manifests in our lives and the way we receive it that we have experienced. Okay. And what I find difficult, I would say, and just to be very vulnerable, is when I have folks coming to me and saying, I feel alone, I'll say, I understand. I see you and I hear you. Because when all the messages of we're here for you and the calls and are done, you're back in your reality and you still can't pay for rent, Wow. And that's difficult. So the cause is way too important for many of us. So we continue putting ourselves out there. However, and I'm speaking not just for myself, I just know, because I know the folks that are in there and they're doing this because they believe that justice will prevail. But while we're getting there, there's a lot of things that we're sacrificing.
Got it. Cesar, I have a follow-up question, but if you want to jump in.
Yes. So I will be vulnerable, as Sister Bernadette said, and I will actually share a little bit of my story very shortly, and one of the reasons why I became a director myself. About, was it 12 years ago? 10 years, 12 or 11 years ago, I think. I worked in we can truly say an elite department in the government, in the federal type of government, where people basically, I'll be blunt, tend to think they're superior because they got hired. They're very selective. And all is well, per se. And the change that happened, and this is very common to many Black, but we can truly say minority people, white people also. It's a human experience, but particularly when you are a minority. The director that hired me changed departments. You know what that means? The director who hired me will lay the path of success and advancement for me. Change departments. The new director, let's just say, I don't even want to say that created problems. Let me put it like this. When came that meeting in which I was let go? When came that meeting, I was notably told that I did not fit in. You know, that sentence that too many Black people have heard, that you didn't fit in. I was notably advised prior to that meeting that I should better integrate the team, such as, why don't you go out Friday night with, after work with everyone and, drink and party with them. Those who know me know I've never had alcohol. And I'm not going to start having alcohol or coffee just to integrate a group. I've never had alcohol or coffee. There's nothing you're going to tell me for me to start doing that. But of course, my fitting in was not about alcohol or coffee with the team. What was it really about? This was a department, as I said, very elitist. And unfortunately, one of the nature of racism, systemic racism and colonization, is that far too many Black people, in order to survive, so this is not about them so much being sellout, as far too many Black people like to throw the word. In order to survive, what they end up happening is that they bow their head and they basically conform to the discrimination in the institution. And that's not me. That's not me. So this was a department where when things were false about Black people and notably Africa, I would speak up. It's a matter of character. I would not speak up to, look at me, I'm smart, but I would speak up because it's false. And I'm Black and I'm African and I know the situation, I know the reality. Long story short, that meeting, the assistant director shed tears. This white woman cried because she knew it was wrong. The supervisors, white supervisors, they were shocked. This is regarding me, and there was no issue about me being late, me not knowing the content of my work, me underperforming. And you can't discriminate on the fact that I have health issues and I needed a dark office, or I needed a additional computer equipment to darken the screen. So what was the excuse found? I didn't fit in. So long story short, it took a white senior leader who was friend with a close friend of mine, a close Black friend. He approached me and he told me, Cesar, you are a victim of racism. He knew that director. He had been discriminated against by that director, despite being white himself. But he did add, you like me, but worse for you, you black. So one of the things that come in terms of these experiences is that on one side, we have many black people who try to survive by conforming to the racism in the place. And we know this is true because when black people are among themselves with other black people, they speak certain truths that they don't dare to speak in the office, just as in society, when there's white and non-black people around. And the other aspect of it is the nature of trying to find justifications and excuses in order to prevent the progress, the advancement of the black person, or straight up get them out of there. That lesson, because I was baffled that here I am in my 30s, mid 30s, I was experiencing racism in the workplace, which I hadn't truly felt before in terms of preventing my progress. Understand that I have become a manager. I had entered management for the first time at the age of 23 years old. I had represented Canada in academia worldwide in my late 20s. I was that good, excuse my language, that good Negro of the system who literally thought it wouldn't happen to me. Oh yeah, I would stand against racism. I'm a Pan-Africanist, my fist is up, but it didn't apply to me. This is the lie that the system makes black people believe, that if you conform, you're fine. Because the other black people were conforming. They were not conforming because so much they agree, but to survive, for the paycheck. And to give further proof to what I'm saying, many of those non-blacks who worked in that department, very elitist department, we stayed friends after. They sided with me after, but they didn't have the power to go against the director. That is one of the greatest motivation that led to me becoming a director, influencing for the hiring and the progress of other non-white staff, and especially black workers. So yes, we need to sue, to sue, but we also need places with a pro-black mindset to stand up and to help our brothers and sisters, just as to fight against injustice. So that's really how I would share my experience. I mean, let me put it to you this way. My letting go letter, I swear, I still have it. I still have it. Bernadette and the whole group of the Black Lives Action Council. If you want to see a perfect example, my letting go letter was more praising me as a worker than my own, how do you call the letter of motivation. The letting go letter was more praising of my work than my own letter of motivation in terms of why you should hire me. How can you explain that? Nothing against me.
Wow. Thank you,
But
Cesar.
I dare to be that black person who did speak up the truth.
Thank you, Bernadette. I want to be cognizant of your time, so I don't want to have to keep you longer than you are comfortable. Are you good for time, or?
We're good for time.
Okay. I want to ask you, how might this lawsuit impact other Black federal employees who have not joined the case but may have faced similar experiences?
Thank you for your question. And I would say simply, even if you don't join the case, everything we're fighting for, because we're fighting for systemic changes, it will hopefully affect you it will affect the way things are run in the workplace. And since you're part of that workplace, you'll be more protected, and as a Black public servant. So joining the class action is one part of it, but then, like I said, we're also working in dismantling what's present in the system right now, which affect Black folks directly. So that's how it would benefit them.
Okay. Another conversation piece. What does this lawsuit reveal about the broader issue of systemic racism in Canadian institutions?
Well, we're not all that in a bag of chips, right? Like, I mean, we're struggling here. Canada needs to, a big part of like changing and like a big part of changing is acknowledging where we fall short, and for ourselves and before others. And Canada has prided itself in being like the leader in this, the leader in that, in human rights, like in front of like the world, like look at Canada. But man, oh man, oh man. And it's like Black people, and it's Indigenous, and it's people, and it's like so many. Okay, well, we have some work to do, a lot of work to do. So we acknowledge, I find sometimes I feel it's still very performative. Like we acknowledge because we want to, almost appease and just have people quiet down a little bit, because otherwise we would continue make so much noise. But then after that, we don't do. I think it's when, as soon as Canada or institutions or politicians or anybody really acknowledges, or when they come out with like, oh, we promise that we are going to do this and this and that. It's us, the people. We need to hold them accountable. It's almost like we don't do anything. We sit and we wait. No, that's not how it works, because we know that they know that there's certain things they'll say and then we want to hear. And so once we hear them, we just sit and we're happy. But that's also not how things happen. Unfortunately, often things happen because the people have put pressure. They've like, and that's my opinion. Often I'm like, let's create a riot. Let's go on the street. Let's burn everything. No, seriously. And let's start over. Right?
How does this...
Dr. Vibe.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. No, when you ask what it reveals about Canada, well, let us be honest. It is, it is that Canadian postcard image sent to the world versus Canada's polite racism for those who are within.
Yeah.
And you will notice that many immigrants, Blacks, Asian, Indians, are starting to be disappointed in the image of Canada they got sold versus the reality they find here. A perfect example is the international student scam impacting overwhelmingly Indian students, but students. In terms of the Black Class Action lawsuit, it is the contrast of a Canada that recognizes the United Nations Decade for People of African Descent, a Canada where the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, takes the knee on the day of protest for George Floyd. It is indeed a Canada that promises millions, not billions, millions for Black people, especially when it comes time for elections.
Right.
And yet, it is a Canada that is fighting the settlement of a lawsuit over documented systemic racism in its own public service sector at the federal level, and if you're honest, at the provincial and even municipal level. I mean, in Ottawa, you have the Ottawa Anti-Racism Secretariat.
Yeah.
They should be honest and call it Anti-Black Racism Secretariat, because that's what it is. In Toronto, you have our great Prime Minister, conservative Doug Ford, who literally, in a matter of 24 hours, went from there's no systemic racism in Ontario following the murder of George Floyd. Someone must have given him a wake-up call in regards to who elected him, notably in Toronto and the GTA that's very multicultural. 24 hours later, there is systemic racism in Ontario, and we must fight it. So, indeed, as Sister Bernadette said, it is a matter of pressure. It is a matter of remaining vigilant. And I will dare to say this word that too many people use pejoratively. 100 years ago, our African American ancestors came up with a term that becomes even more valid today. It is a matter of being woke. Woke to the government and remaining woke, aka awakened to the injustices, but also the fight that we must continue on in order to really, and I dare to say, really be equal as human beings, as Canadians. Because as long as we have such a system in terms of which Black people must go on a lawsuit for something that's documented, that basically means that we are not equal humans as white. It is really what it means. We are not on the four corners of the world. The United Nations recognizes discrimination on two particular groups, Blacks and Indigenous people, on the four corners of the world. And I'm saying, even in Africa, Black people are victims of racism.
Mm.
Even in African Black nations, Black people are victims of racism. It happens. Even in the Caribbean,
whether they
there's anti-Black
recognize
racism.
it or not, right? Because I find that anti-Black racism is very different from the people in the diaspora, or is experienced differently or recognized differently from people from the diaspora, versus our people that are still in the motherland or in the Caribbean. Sometimes they don't recognize it the same way, but it's there. It's living there for sure.
So Bernadette, I also want to ask you, what policies or practices need to be implemented to ensure that Black employees are treated fairly and equitably in the federal public service?
So I'm going to hold on to your question and just want to say that I completely, I meant to mention it and I forgot in my little spiel earlier. So there's two reports that came out very recently. One almost like a few days before the court hearing started back in at the end of October for the certification, and one that just came out, I think it was last week, and it's from Dr. Rachel Zellers, brilliant human professor. I can't remember the university she teaches at, but she's in the academia space. She was hired as a consultant by Canada to do this research on what's happening in the public service, discrimination and all that. And the first report that came out at the beginning of the court hearing, or just right before, was the discrimination and racism that happens in the Privy Council. It's the first one. We know what the Privy Council is, right? It's basically, the boss on the public service side, where the equivalent of the PMO on the public service side. And that report says it all. It mentions everything. And even with that, may I say, Canada was fighting for our lawyers to integrate that report as evidence in the court hearing. So there will be a separate case hearing or case hearing with the lawyers in Canada to discuss that case study. To discuss that report. It wasn't, the judge didn't allow for our lawyers to integrate it in the conversation the past 3 weeks, but hopefully she'll give it a chance in a few days so she can also look at those reports as evidence. The second report is a report that Dr. Zellers conducted across the public service on, and it's I think it's the Black Executive Network that sponsored that study, if I understand properly, and it reveals shocking, heartbreaking stories of executives, Black executives, some who now have suicidal ideation, others that are now like mentally suffering mentally, physically suffering from the discrimination, the racism they've received. Some that were called the N words in front of, like, in the office. Some that were said things like some that were called the B word in office, or all were threatened to be beaten up. So anyways, all of these stories are in that report, and it came out, I think, the last week of our court hearing. Again, Canada refused. They're like, no. They tried to find all of the excuses under the sun not to integrate those reports, because they're evidence that, it's happening. We're not lying. This is true. This is what's happening to our Black public servants right now as we speak. Again, the judge will be scheduling a separate case hearing, and then they'll see if it's going to be integrated as evidence. So I just wanted to mention that, because it's important to reiterate that the evidence are there. Why are we being fought so hard?
Okay. So how can the federal government ensure that its various departments and agencies are held accountable for addressing systemic racism?
Well, they're not even doing it themselves, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure, like, if they can.
Okay.
Okay. So I think it's not the government, it's the people, it's us that need to hold them accountable. We so in the Senate hearing, in the Senate study that happened on anti-Black racism and discrimination at the CHRC, there's a few recommendations that we like, a few things that we recommended to the Senate, and that they list in their study. Earlier you're talking about, like, the different policies that need to change, right? So we recommended that there's like a equity commissioner, on like a Black equity commissioner that focuses on the story and the reality of Black public servants in Canada. That could be, a solution where, like, it all goes to that Black equity commissioner, and then there's an understanding of the reality or the realities of Black people, of Black public servants in Canada. And I think that's where, like, all the policies amendments, all of the new policies that will be implemented and created, I think that's where everything should be born, or I think everything should be discussed at a table where the people that are taking the decisions look like us in all of our intersections. So it's more representative when it's actually written Black and white. And then we need to hold them accountable. They're not able to hold themselves accountable. The government is not able to hold themselves accountable. It's not happening. We're not seeing it. We haven't seen it in a long time. So we need Black people to inform themselves on, how they can hold the government accountable, because I think that sometimes we feel powerless because we don't know how. So it's in giving them the tools. Okay, this is how you can do it. It's in continuing to educate, continuing to transfer wisdom, because that's another thing. Education is power. When you don't know, then you feel like you don't have that power. So it's in educating them. It's in making it accessible for all to understand, okay, this is what I can do as a Black person and as an ally, because the power is also in the numbers. We need folks looking like us, but we need everyone to be part of this collective fight.
Got it. Another conversation piece. I know we got to wind down soon because you got.
Can I quickly add to what Sister Bernadette said? And I'm really adding because I wouldn't want someone to misunderstand what Sister Bernadette said as overly optimistic, notably talking about educating them, aka the government, aka whites in power. But it's important to understand certain elements. Change does not come without confrontation in the nature of power. And as such, what you end up having is that not only do you need at the very top a committed and engaged leadership, whatever the skin color of those at the table, but you need, let's say at the bottom, Sister Bernadette said it so well, we need the numbers, people basically understanding and being engaged, supporting, voicing the concerns, and basically standing up. And when I say people, it's not exclusive to Black people. And even when we say allies, there is a demographics when it comes to conversation about anti-Black racism that's not talked about enough. And even myself, I understood the power of these demographics 10 years ago when the riots in Ferguson happened following the murder of our young brother, Mike Brown. These demographics is the demographics of white, especially white mothers of Black/mixed children. We have this demographic that is growing, and as such, that demographic has to be heard and supporting more and more. They have to use the white privilege to help the Black cause, because that Black cause looks at them every day in the face of the children. Further to that, there is a matter of power and dynamics of populations. I give you two perfect examples. What's happening right now? Many people don't know this, but in the federal government, there is a growing conversation about passing a bill to make it a crime. I do not know to which legal, but at least an infraction to deny indigenous victimization in Canada, such as the denial of genocide. That is a conversation happening at the federal level. Another example, it goes back to a little bit more than 10 years. The Gladue principle, based off the victimization of an indigenous woman, Cindy Gladue, was private, were exposed in a Canadian Justice Court in the 2010. From there, we got derived the Gladue principle that basically assess the nature of discrimination against an indigenous person prior to the assessing or prior to the sentencing of that person. We need to understand that those type of mechanisms must also be applied to Black people in a nation that recognizes that indeed there is systemic racism, whether you see it or not, but the impacts of it, notably on psycho-emotional welfare, just as socio-economic survival. Black people are not at the bottom of the statistics, whether it be in terms of economics or incarceration rates, because their skin is Black. They are at the bottom due to social constructions and systemic issues within the system to maintain them there. What I mean by this is that as an individual, you can rise. I gave examples of Barack Obama just as Oprah Winfrey, but all three of us here on the screen are successful Black people. But the reality as a group is that the nature of the systemic issues maintain our group at the bottom. And as such, what happens is that as long as a group is oppressed and put at the bottom, an individual rise is very relative. Inversely, you can have a poor Jewish person, but they are part of a strong group. A poor Chinese person, they are part of a strong group. And as such, the poverty, the victimization, the marginalization. I'm not saying there are no poor Jews or poor Chinese, because there are. And they are also sometimes victims of discrimination, notably in the government. But they belong to a strong and stronger group that is able to better enact pressure upon governments. In the case of Black people, as I said earlier, you look at next year, elections that likely will come, the Conservative Party, and I'm not here paid by the Liberal Party at all, this is not the case, but the Conservative Party does not recognize systemic racism. So non-settlement of the lawsuit going into the next government is an easy washing of hands and the buck being imposed upon the next generation.
Understood. One or two more conversation pieces for you, Bernadette, and I appreciate you staying long with us. What advice would you give Black employees currently working in the federal public service who may be experiencing discrimination but are unsure how to proceed?
I mentioned it earlier. Knowledge is power. Okay. So make sure that you know your rights. There's when you start somewhere, they'll give you this, like, maybe now it's electronic, but there's the human rights, like, little Bible there with union or like grievance, and everything is there. You need to read that. So many of us are, and again, the systems are what they are. Unions are part of the problem as well. Okay. How many of us have gone to see, we say, okay, there's a problem, call your union locals or rep, and then tell them about what happened, and then we call, and then what happens is that we're re-traumatized because we're dismissed on the phone on the trauma that just happened at work. So I understand. However, when you take the recourses that are there and then they don't work and you go higher, the first thing they'll ask you is, have you done XYZ? And if you say yes, then at least you have that on your side. Okay. So know your rights, know who to call, who to talk to. Document absolutely everything. Document everything. Have a journal, write everything. If you have verbal conversation, email that conversation back. Like, you need to make sure that you document absolutely everything. And then find your village, and your village might be very small. I'm just going to say, when we were about to file, or when we're about to file a complaint against the Human Rights Commission, we thought that on all skin folks are kin folks. We were burnt again, right? Some of our skin folks went and told on us before, right? Because we thought, hey, we're experiencing similar things here. Let's gather together. Let's get ready to go and fight together. Nope. And so find your village. It might be very small, but find that village. And because those people will be very important in the process, because that process is long. Okay. It's a marathon on a slow-mo. So make sure you find the people that will be there for you. And then start, and then don't keep for yourself. Don't say, I'm not gonna say because this, that. I understand maybe not everyone will go in front of the television, but there's other ways to fight for yourself. And when you remain silent, it kills you slowly, but also it doesn't benefit folks that are coming after you. So there's ways to partake in this fight without being in the forefront, but still demanding justice for you, because you're worth it. So educate yourself in how, in the like, knowing how the institution works is actually learning how to play that game. And it's very important for us to know that.
Cesar, I just have one more conversation piece. Is there anything else you want to add? I just have one more thing I want to ask our friend.
Only say that ultimately, beyond this lawsuit, all the issues that impact Black people, the solutions are found within the building of stronger individuals, stronger families, stronger communities, stronger nations, a stronger continent. I'm going to sound redundant. Our hero Malcolm X said it. The Black men, and in brackets, women and child, are disrespected because Africa is disrespected. And Africa in brackets, the Caribbean, etc., any black nation are disrespected because the black men, women, and child are disrespected worldwide. That's really what it is. So that building, that rejection, I talk about the three cancers of the black psyche. It's ultimately the work within ourselves. Sister Bernadette said it so well. Find your village. In the 21st century of integration, your village may not be all kinfolk or kinfolk. You can find a white ally. You can have that non-black partner or spouse, but you definitely should have that village, that support system. I had the support system. When what happened to me, it was my Asian ex was precious. My ex, we were not together. She's not black. She's Asian. She was very much part of my support system. And then I had some white friends and black friends. And that's how I was able to rise back up and as such to stand up for the cause, notably in a position as a director where I can bring influence. This is the kind of mindset because, and Bernadette, thank you so much for saying this very precious part. Keeping things bottled in can kill you from inside. We have many black people will die from the humiliation, from the discrimination, from the hurt and pain that already come from the socio, family, and economic environment they grow in, and then society bombards them. They're dying from within, and as such, stroke,
Heart attack.
cardiac attack, you name it. It's very true. It's very true.
My last conversation piece for you is, what do you hope to see as the long-term impact of this lawsuit on the federal public service and other Canadian workplaces?
I want this to be a model, because we're fighting the public service, federal, but municipal coming for you, provincial coming for you. They're not, exempt from that. So they're also discriminating against our black folks there. So I hope that because we will, justice will prevail, and whatever will come out of it will serve not just for this nation, but as an example internationally. That is what I'm manifesting for all of us, for ourselves, because often we say for our children, but I'm thinking like, I also would like to experience it while I'm still healthy and going, right? So for us, and then for our children. So that's something that I want. And before I say goodbye today, I wanted to mention, since we're speaking about like what this fight does on our bodies and our minds and everything. Last week in court, Nicholas Marcus Thompson, he collapsed, and I spent the day at the ER with him, and now he's resting.
Wow.
But this is it. It continues to harm us. The chronic stress we're under continues to harm us. We're not inventing anything. So this is a man who has a family, a young person in his 30s. Like, you understand? This is not because, it's because of the chronic stress that we are under. Racism is violence. When I use that term, often people are like, oh, how do you? It is violence. It's not because I'm not punching you that I'm not receiving violence. And so when I'm experiencing chronic stress because of, economic stress, and because of the words that are being thrown at me, and because of the behavior that my colleagues have towards me, or because my mother comes home and she experiences things that now affects the family, or because that racism might break our parents apart because of the way it just, the impact that it has in the family unit, it continues to kill us. And often, if they haven't killed us physically yet, it's mentally. So I am hoping you can hear me when I say it's a plague, it's a pandemic, right? It's been happening. It's been in us and through us for now many, many generations. And we need to, we completely need to we need to dismantle whatever system is upholding that. And we need to demand a better future for our children. And until we have that, and for us, and until we have that, we should not stop. So, and because it's going to be long, we need to learn how to rest and not how to stop. So that's what I would like to say.
Well, Bernadette, I want to thank you and all those who are aligned with you for what you have done, are done, and will be doing in regards to this cause, not just for you, but for all of us.
It is for all of us. Ubuntu.
Not only current, but future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I truly believe in I am because we are. I'm not here because of just myself. You know, I was made, created, and held by the village ancestors, everything creator. So we need to keep doing this. And again, not just for ourselves, but for, you know, us and generations to come.
Yeah, and if it's good for us, it's good for others.
Absolutely.
Okay, everyone, this is where you can get more information. blackclassaction.ca, Instagram at Black Class Action, YouTube, Facebook, Black Class Action, and then X and Twitter at Black Action Act, Black Class Action, HCTN.
Yes.
All right. So as always, I want to say to everyone that comes on here, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. And please keep us updated. If there's anything we can potentially do to help the cause, please reach out.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Keep the faith. Cesar, anything you want to end up
my brother.
Anything you want to end up with?
No, I mean, thank you so much for, bringing in Sister Bernadette. For
my honor. Thank you. You brought her. I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm truly honored. My Pan-Africanism allows me to connect with so many people worldwide. And as I often say, behind what I say, no matter how intellectual or deep it may be, there are others behind me who can speak even better, also because they live it even more. So this is something, notably as we come into 2025, I think, Dr. Vibe, I will see about bringing you more of my friends.
Please do. Please do.
To address such issues that sometimes, our listeners may not be aware of. I mean, I'm just thinking about some of our brothers and sisters in the States, and it's even allies. They likely had no clue this is going on. But even in Canada, let's be honest, even in Canada, many Black people don't even know this is going on.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
All right.
Thank you for her courage, and thank you for you to host her.
No problem. For those who want to get a hold of Cesar, email president@rootsandculturecanada.com. You can catch him on Facebook at Cesar Remy Emery. You're seeing, as always, please subscribe if you haven't yet to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Hit the notification button so we can pass that 1,600 subscriber barrier. Also follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I'm a part of, please email me dr.vibe@drvibeshow.com. And also, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website, www.thedrvibeshow.com. As always, we end off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourself grace. And again, big shout out to Cesar for bringing our special friend on today. Respect you much, brother. Keep the faith.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.